نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما وزدنا علما وزدنا علما اللهم صل وسلم على نبينا Muhammad. Right. So we had covered till ayah number 48 in our session last week. Alhamdulillah. And we are talking about the Bani Israel, but like we have mentioned, that the reason for the mention of Bani Israel in the Quran is for us to take our lessons from them, not make the mistakes that they made, because during their time they were the chosen nation, they were the Muslims of their time, and we are the chosen ummah for uh, the present situation, present scenario, and we have to take our lessons, not make the same mistakes, and do what needs to be done so that we are able to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not Allah's wrath. Right? So there were commandments given to the Bani Israel, do's and don'ts, and they handled it in their own way. These were the same kind of commandments that have been given to us as well. How do we handle them? What kind of an attitude do we have? How do we stay connected? These are the lessons that we take from these ayahs. Moving on, we have ayah number 49. I hope all of you all have Musaf with you all, some sort of, it could be in any language, but I hope you have something so that you can make small notes, maybe just a word or two, like key points in your Musaf, or if you're maintaining a separate book, that's great, of course. But if you want to write it in your Musaf with your pencil, that's also great, so that when you recite it yourself, you're able to connect, you're able to remember what we discussed about the ayah. Right, inshallah. Let's move on to ayah number 49. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وإذ نجيناكم من آل فرعون يسومونكم سوء العذاب يذبحون أبناءكم ويستحيون نساءكم وفي ذلكم بلاء من ربكم عظيم. Remember, wa'id, the word wa'id is basically a reminder as in, you know that this was given to you. It's a kind of telling them that these were the favors that were bestowed on you and you have forgotten about them. So remember, Allah is reminding them, is najjainakum, and remember how we delivered you from the people of Pharaoh, from people of Pharaoh. Najjainakum is Najjaynakum basically means to rescue from a difficulty. Nijat, it comes from Najjayna, comes from the word Nijat, which means to rescue from a difficulty. And the people of the Bani Israel, they were slaves. They were made slaves, and they were with Pharaoh. They were under his rule. They were treated as slaves, treated with dishonored, and given a lot of trouble. Subhanallah. So we'll just try and understand why they were in this situation. They were the chosen ones of that time, right? So how did they land up in this situation? So we're just going to go a little back on the story, wherein, if you remember, we had spoken that the Bani Israel are called so because they are the children of Israel. Basically, they're children of Yaqub alayhi salam. That is the laqab, the name given to Yaqub alayhi salam was Israel. And so his children were called Bani Israel. Yaqub alayhi salam had 12 sons. Yusuf alayhi salam was also one of them. And they were, if you remember the story of Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers, and how they had thrown him into the well, and how he was rescued, and then he was sold off, and then he landed up in Egypt, and how he went through all the ordeals that he went through in Egypt, and Later, he was made the finance minister of Egypt. He went through a lot of troubles. Subhanallah, the incident of the wife of the king, blaming him for his for bad character and a lot of things, and then he had to go to prison and subhanallah. But all said and done, he went through it all with ihsan, and finally he was the finance minister of Egypt, like the king's right hand man kind of a thing. And subhanallah, he reaches this position, and how his family then joins him, and then they are all in Egypt, and he's in a very high position, right? And so the people respect him because he gave them solutions. There was a time of famine, and he gave them the solution of how to save the crops. And so he is respected, he is trusted, and people love him and everything. Now he is in Egypt, and his 12 brothers, the other brothers also have come and joined him, and they are all like a big clan now, subhanallah. And people respect them, people give them a lot of importance, people honor them. But then what happens? Then they kind of become corrupt. Then the progenies, they become corrupt. They kind of move away from the truth. They kind of get deviated from the truth, and hence the iman becomes weak. They deviate from the deen, and they take a lot from the society, but they don't give back. So the people of Egypt kind of got tired of them, and then the time came when Pharaoh, or the Pharaoh, he enslaved them, and so that's what happened. That's the story. That's why they were in this position. Once upon a time, they were in a very honorable position, and because of them moving away from their deen, they are in the position of slaves, right? Subhanallah. So now they are in this position, and Musa al-Islam has been sent. Allah has chosen him as a messenger, as his prophet, to go and release these slaves, the Bani Israel, from the slavery of Pharaoh, so that they can focus on the purpose for which they have been chosen. They have been chosen to guide the people, but they cannot do that as slaves. So Musa al-Islam is being sent to Pharaoh to kind of let these people go, to free these people. Okay, so this is the story behind it. Now, this ayah goes, وَإِذْ نَجَّيْنَاكُمْ. And so, remember the time when we rescued you. Min ali Fir'aun, from the people of Fir'aun. Right? Yasumunakum. Yasumunakum comes from the word su, which means a kind of affliction of difficulty. Something that is a kind of an abuse, something that some kind of trouble that is given, some kind of oppression, some kind of hardship that is inflicted on the people. The Bani Israel, Pharaoh gave them a lot of trouble. He put in a lot of punishment on them. Yasumunakum su al-adhab. He afflicted them with dreadful torment. Now, what was the reason for it? Now, Pharaoh, he had a dream. He had a dream in which he dreamt that, that there will be a boy from the Bani Israel who will be the one to topple his kingdom, right? He had this dream. So then what happened? He considered him as God. So he did not have any iman, or so he believed the soothsayers and the magicians in his court when they told him that this that the Bani Israel will take control of his kingdom, and he had this dream, and so he believed it. And what he did in his way of trying to stop this, he sent out an order to slaughter all the male children that are born in the Bani Israel every alternate year. So every alternate year, all the male children were slaughtered. All right. And so the year when Musa al-Islam was born was the year when the slaughtering had to happen. Right? Subhanallah. They were slaughtered, and the other year they were left because, of course, that they had to have slaves. Right? The women were left, the Bani Israel women were left, so that they could use them as slaves, and they could have children through them, so that, it's their progeny which will go forward, not the Bani Israel. So this was Pharaoh's, agenda, kind of a thing. So what did Pharaoh do? يَسُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ يُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ. He slaughtered your sons. وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ, tahyuna from haya. Haya means life. And kept your women alive. وَيَسْتَحْيُونَ نِسَاءَكُمْ. Nisa means women. He kept the women alive. وَفِي ذَلِكُمْ بَلَاءٌ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ. Now this might look very torturous. This might look like very bad. But this, Allah says, this is a punishment from your Rabb. Though the Pharaoh was doing all this, but in the bigger, to be looking at it from a bigger picture, this is a punishment, a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because of the kind of problems that the Bani Israel did with their religion. Because of having deviated from the religion, this was a test that Allah had put on them. Right? So subhanallah, Bani Israel were a religious sect, right? They get very corrupt. And so when a religious sect gets corrupt, it becomes even worse, right? Because they have the knowledge and they don't apply it. So then their corruption is on a greater level than the ones who are corrupt out of ignorance. Right, subhanallah. And so the punishment was going to be greater. So when Musa al-Islam came as a messenger, right, so they were like, they were not okay with it. They did not accept him. They gave him a lot of trouble, basically. Anyway, we'll come to that in a while as we go to the following ayahs. But in this ayah, we're talking about the fact that Allah is reminding them of the favors that he had done on them, of having saved them from the torture that Pharaoh was inflicting upon them, about how this was slaughtering, this torture that Pharaoh was putting on them was actually a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now this is something that we can contemplate on, right? A test from Allah. The word bala'un means a test from Allah. This is a difficulty, and we as human beings are tested all the time, right? And what Allah is looking at is what is our attitude? How do we handle a situation? Now, if I tell you a test is good for us, tests are good for us, what do you all think? Do you all agree? Is a test good for us? We are being tested all the time, right? Every situation is a test. How does it benefit us?
We can usually apply what we learn from it, from the test, if it creates a stronger bond.
Right. So it becomes a test, becomes an opportunity to learn, right? So we become better people because we've gone through something, we learn from the experience, we learn that we will not, how we need to handle the situation, we become a better person. Right. That's a great point. That's one point. What else? How else is test good for us?
It brings us closer to Allah.
Awesome. Yes, it brings us closer to Allah, right? Subhanallah, when we are tested, we can have two different two attitudes. We could either, get closer to Allah, as in, make dua more, make pray more. When we learned the ayah, wasta'inu bis sabri was salah, ask help from Allah through prayer and patience. We can do that. Or we can have the attitude of why me, and that ways we move away from Allah. So again, the test can be something for our benefit. So depending on the choice, we get closer to Allah or we get further away from Allah. Awesome point. Barakallah. What else? So testing, every prophet, if you have seen in the history, was tested. Yes? You'll agree? Every single prophet, and prophets are chosen ones. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses them. They are normal human beings, but Allah chooses them for something special. And then they are tested. What for? Why does Allah put them through the test?
Could it be also to, usually when you do a test, it's like you level up?
You level up. Awesome. To elevate our ranks.
Love it. Yeah,
Awesome. Yes, subhanallah. That was the point I was looking at. Subhanallah. So we should realize that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us to trials and to stress, it's a sign of his love. It has been narrated that if Allah wills good for his slave, because if Allah intends something good for his slave, he hastens in his punishment in this world. He puts us through a lot of tests in this world because he has wished khair for us. He has wished good for us. And every test kind of makes us better. Every test kind of purifies us. Every test makes us stronger, makes us better equipped to handle something better than this. Right? So he puts us through a lot of tests when he has intended good for us. But if he has intended bad for us, if he wills bad for us, he withholds for him his sin until he requits him for it on the day of resurrection. Right? Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So if he's wished bad for a person, he does not punish him in this world. He gives him space to do more. He gives him space to keep, sinning and doing more, and he doesn't catch him. Right? And the person thinks, okay, he's gotten away with it. But then what happens on the day of Qiyamah, on the day of recompense, when the book of deeds are open and those sins are written, there is no turning back. That person has no chance to do tawbah. The person has no chance to add good deeds to nullify his bad deeds. He has no such chances. Right, subhanallah. So when we are tested in this dunya, it's something good because Allah has intended good for us. We have a chance to repent. We have a chance to rectify. We have a chance to become better. We have a chance to elevate our ranks. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. What would you like to add on this? This was ayah number 49. What would you like to add?
This reminds me of an ayah where Allah tests the righteous as much as possible until he has no sins to be like
Right.
until all his sins has been
Right.
cleared
Right.
off.
That's an awesome point as well. Yes, he keeps testing them till he kind of purifies them and makes them into somebody who is totally like clean of all the sins. Yes, that is also a point. Subhanallah, barakallah fi Zambia. Right. Okay. Shall we go ahead? So what did you all write? What point did you all write for yourself? And from ayah number 49, what was your take on this ayah?
Every test makes us better and helps us to elevate.
A chance to elevate, yes. A chance
Yeah.
to elevate. Subhanallah, subhanallah. So
Just
we
to
are,
kind of,
yes, go
sorry,
ahead.
just to kind of add on to that, it's like it's a show of love. I think about like my son, he's on a basketball team, and the coach is very passionate, very, very passionate. And he'll even come to a point where he's like, the time when I'm not yelling at you, be concerned. Because it's like I'm not really paying you any mind. I'm yelling at you. I'm very passionate because I care and I want you to get better. If I don't say anything to you, that's when you should be concerned.
Right. Yes, yes, subhanallah. Yes, subhanallah. We tell that to our children as well, right? Subhanallah. Like, when we do get, when we are just very upset or something, we just keep quiet, and probably the children think they've we're okay with it, but actually we're so angry we don't want to say anything. But when we are talking to them and telling things, it is totally out of concern for them. It's totally out of love for them to be better people, right? And when we are giving them a piece of our mind, it's totally out of concern. So subhanallah, when Allah puts us through these tests, it is really out of love and concern for us to become better people so that we can have a better afterlife. Right, barakallah fiqh. That was a great way of looking at it. Subhanallah. Okay, let's move on. We are on ayah number 50. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذ فرقنا بكم البحر فأنجيناكم وأغرقنا آل فرعون وأنتم تنظرون. And remember, again, the word وَإِذ is to indicate that, a reminder is being given here. When we parted the sea, Allah's favor on the Bani Israel, that He parted the sea. Faraqna, faraqa means to part. Wa is faraqna bikumul bahra. Bahra means sea. The word bahra means sea. Fa'anjaynakum, again the word nijat, which means to rescue. Wa anjaynakum wa aghraqna, and gharaq. Gharaq means drown. Wa aghraqna ala fir'auna, the people of Fir'aun. Wa antum tanzurun, and this was happening before your very eyes. You were seeing this. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. This is got so many things to ponder on. Subhanallah. So the translation of this ayah goes that Allah is reminding the Bani Israel of the favors. He parted the sea. We know this. We know what happened when Musa al-Islam took the Bani Israel and he was going to cross the sea. And the sea was in front of them, and Pharaoh and his army were behind them. They were chasing them. So the Bani Israel were like sandwiched. The sea is on one side, and so Pharaoh and his army is on the other, and they are like they had nowhere to go. That was the situation they were in. Subhanallah. And here we have to remember Musa al-Islam's attitude, right? He when the people were like, really afraid and confused and blaming Musa al-Islam that where did you get us? At least we were there as slaves and we were eating and, living a life. And here you've brought us, the sea in front of us, army behind us. Definitely we're going to get killed. So what did Musa al-Islam do? He did not give up. He did not give up. He said, when the people kept saying, see what you got us to, and I mean, are we going to just die now? He said, no. Kalla. Inna ma'iya rabbi sayahdini. He said, truly my Lord is with me and he will guide me through it. Subhanallah. This was Musa al-Islam. And this ayah, this dua that he made, the statement that he made, it was like full of tawakkul. He saw the sea. He was seeing no path in it at that point of time. He was just seeing this huge sea in front of him. He was seeing an army behind him. In spite of that, he says with complete conviction that there is no way Allah is going to let me, lose here, because he is with me. He is with me and he will guide me. There is no way. So subhanallah, this was tawakkul. He does not see the end, but he still believes completely that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide him. Right? Subhanallah. This is something that we need to take out of this ayah. This is the same sea, right? The same sea which was a means of escape for the Bani Israel, and it was the same sea which was the means for the Pharaoh and his whole army to be drowned and like wiped off. Right? The same sea, the means was the same, but it worked differently depending on whom it was, relating to. The Bani Israel, it saved them. The Pharaoh and his army, it drowned them. Right? Subhanallah, the same water. It was the same water that was like, that was a means of life for one and means of death for the other. And the word tanzurun is a very interesting word, and it is usually used in the story of the Bani Israel because, subhanAllah, Allah showed them. This was not something out of ghaib. He showed them the miracles. He showed them. I mean, it's not something common for a sea to just part in front of us, right? And Allah says, He showed them, وَأَنْتُمْ تَنْظُرُونَ. You were seeing it. It was before your very eyes. Right? SubhanAllah. In spite of that, they deviated from the truth. Right? This is the scary bit of it. When Allah shows it to you, when Allah gives you that truth right in front of your eyes, He says, this is it. Accept it and stay firm, stay steadfast. SubhanAllah. So this word tanzurun is used a lot in Bani Israel because they saw the miracles in front of their eyes. SubhanAllah. So this was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding the Bani Israel about how He saved them, and that saving them was a blessing in itself. The sea, which was a means of getting rid of the Pharaoh, getting him drowned, and the same sea which was beneficial and saved the Bani Israel, subhanAllah. And this was the wisdom. This was the wisdom that, problems take time to be removed, but when the tawakkul of Allah is strong, when you believe that Allah is in control and Allah will take care of you and Allah will, find a way out of every situation. The Bani Israel had no hope that they could cross the sea. But that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He comes and helps you from sources which you cannot imagine. For you, the sea might be a barrier. For you, you might think, how can I possibly cross this? But for Allah, it's nothing. It's nothing. He can help you from sources that you cannot even imagine possible, right? SubhanAllah. This was Allah's way of testing the Bani Israel, right? This was Allah's way of, putting the Bani Israel through it so that they would have that feeling of tawakkul in Allah. They would believe that Allah is their protector. Allah will save them. Allah will be with them. Right, subhanallah, this was Allah's way of giving them that confidence that He is with them. Yeah, He is not only chosen them as a role model, He is giving them the resources to fulfill that role of being, fulfilling that purpose. SubhanAllah. What would you like to say? Ayah number 50. What's our take on this? We have barriers in front of us. You always have. And we always think that we cannot cross it. But then there is, right? SubhanAllah. From those cracks on the earth, when the earth is totally parched, you must have seen these pictures. When the earth is totally parched, there's absolutely no water on it. It's literally cracked because it's so dry. But you see life coming out of it. You see a pretty little plant coming out of it, right? SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. So when Allah wishes to give life, nothing stops him. Yeah, you'd like to share something? Anybody, anything that has happened in your life wherein you felt that there's no hope, but subhanAllah, it just turned out fine? Yes, Radisha.
Mm-hmm. I don't have an exact example, but I feel like it's just such a demonstration of faith and placement, because it took such a journey for Bani Israel to reach that sea. Right. And to have faith in Allah, and His timing. You can imagine, had Pharaoh's army met with them sooner than the sea, what could the escape have been? But they were brought to the sea, and there's that ultimate faith where it's like,
right,
Allah just says, be, and it is. SubhanAllah.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
So even though you feel there's no way out, you're trapped, it's as simple as be.
As being, yes.
And it is. I feel like it's such a strong demonstration of faith.
Yeah.
And knowing that you're not always trapped in, Allah brings you to a point for a reason. It piggybacks off of the previous with that test. Like, you are brought all the way there.
And the timing is just so perfect.
That's it.
SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. We just have to have faith. Yes, Hannah. Walaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, Jazakallah for all the wisdom you're sharing, mashallah. I just wanted to say also, like, Allah sometimes, just to mention that from what I've seen, sometimes Allah fulfills our needs that sometimes we don't even mention or say. That Allah really knows what's in our hearts. Sometimes we want something from our heart. We might find that okay, let's say maybe it's something to eat, and we went to a gathering and we find this person has made the same thing that we wanted to eat or we were craving. Or one time, for example, I was in Egypt, and I found I was teaching at this time, and a friend I had just met in Egypt. It was very new to me to go to the store to get I really wanted to go to the store because I had to get some item. I didn't have some food. And subhanallah, this person was walking by, and on their day off they said, I came here and I'm going to wait until you finish your work, and when you're done, I'm going to take you to this store, the exact store that I wanted to go, subhanallah. And so I found, like, sometimes you find this, that you just say from your heart. Sometimes Allah knows our needs more than we can even imagine. Subhanallah. He fulfills them all the time. Jazakallah.
Subhanallah. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows our deepest secrets. He knows what's running in our hearts. And subhanallah, He is aware of what we need. Right, subhanallah, that's so beautiful, and that's our Rabb. He's so close to us. He just wants us to, he wants us to just call out and ask Him, and it's there. Subhanallah, subhanallah. And like Sister Hannah said, even if you don't actually put it in words, He still knows it. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So that was a beautiful take on it. Subhanallah. All right. One more ayah for this for today's session. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. وإذ وعدنا موسى 40 ليلة ثم اتخذتم العجل من بعده وأنتم ظالمون. And remember, again, the word وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا, we promised, وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا, and when we promised, Musa 40 لَيْلَةً. Arba'ina means 40, arba, and then ina indicates that it is 4 plus 4 into 10, 40. Laylatan, night, thumma, then. Thumma takhastumul ijla. Then what did the Bani Israel do? When Musa al-Islam went off for these 40 nights, what did the Bani Israel do? ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمُ الْعِجْلَ. They made a calf, ijl, a calf, مِن بَعْدِهِ, after Musa al-Islam went. They made a calf for themselves, وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ, and they did zulm. Right? We try and understand this ayah, subhanallah. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا. This was the time when Musa al-Islam was called to the mountain of Tur to be given the Torah. The Bani Israel, if we can imagine, they have been enslaved for a very long time, so they had forgotten their deen. They were on the deen of Pharaoh, and they had moved away from the path, right? So they did not have a book, they did not have a prophet, and they were just living a life of a slave. So they did not have any thought process, they did not have any positive thinking, they did not have any logic to their actions, nothing. They were just blindly doing what they were being told. So when Musa al-Islam came, and Allah sent them a prophet, of course, and he also decided to give them a book with the guidelines of how to live their life, how to go about their life. It was going to be a book of knowledge for them. And for this, it was not just any kind of a book, it was a heavenly scripture, it was the Torah. And so it is the 40 nights indicate that, Allah had to prepare Musa al-Islam to be able to take this. This was not something easy. It required preparation. So the 40 nights, which basically indicates 40 days and nights, in which Musa al-Islam fasted, kind of made himself focused, moved away from the people, spent time alone, kind of helped him to ponder, helped him to prepare for the task that was ahead of him, because he was going to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was going to receive the commandments. It was not a small task. Subhanallah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared him, got him into that mode, got him into that mindset where he was going to get this huge responsibility and he had to hold on to it. Subhanallah, that 14, the number 40 is subhanallah, it is like how in Ramadan we are told 30 days of fasting and then followed by the 6 days. Subhanallah, it kind of sets your routine, your routine for the rest of the year. It kind of sets changes in your lifestyle, changes in your ibadah, changes in your schedules. That's a kind of a good time for you to get into new habits, right? SubhanAllah. So Musa al-Islam was made to leave his people, leave the mundane routines of life, leave the nitty-gritties of life, and focus on, on pondering, on comprehending what was going to be given to him, what was lying ahead of him, and prepare himself to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when he did that and he left the people behind and he left his brother Harun al-Islam with them to kind of oversee whatever they were doing, and he went on this journey. Now the people, initially the plan was only for 30 days, but then Allah increased it by another 10. Right, subhanallah. So when Musa al-Islam did not return back in the appointed time, the people kind of lost hope that he's going to come back. And plus, they had already, they were so used to worshipping, being a slave that they needed something to worship, right? They needed something to look up to. They were used to it. Pharaoh and his ways, they were used to it, right? So they needed some sort of a materialistic thing. So they made a calf. Now the story of the calf will come a little later when how they made the calf. But with this ayah, we'll just go with, there was a calf. There was some kind of a form. And they started worshipping it. This was their ijl. This was an ijl. The word ijl in Arabic refers to anything that takes you away from the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. right? And ijl is something that is basically shirk. It is something that takes you away from worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and worshipping something else, just worshipping something else. So anything that takes you away from this purpose, anything that takes you away from the purpose of worship of your the purpose for which you have been created, that is the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything that does that is your ijl. Here in the case of the Bani Israel, it was the kaf, right? And subhanallah, the reason for the word zalimun, وَأَنْتُمْ ظَالِمُونَ, and you did zulm. Why? Zulm is a word which has a very dense, intense meaning. The word zulm basically means to not give the right of something. When you don't give something its due right, that's called zulm. That's called injustice. And Allah has all the right to be worshipped. Nothing else. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is deserving of all our worship. Now, when that is not given, when that worship is directed to anything else other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's called zulm, right? And Allah does not like zulm. Allah does not like zulm. Subhanallah, zulm will come on the day of Qiyamah like a very thick, black, dark blanket, right? Subhanallah, may Allah protect us from this. This is something that we need to really be concerned about. Allah is the creator. He is our owner. He is our sustainer. So he is he has a right to be worshipped and nothing else. When we talk about right to be worshipped, of course, we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, we don't look at anything else. But the fact that, when the azan is heard, it is like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling us for prayer. If we say, I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, He is more important. Worshipping is more important. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more important than anything else. And the call of prayer is there. And Allah has said, leave everything. Now it's your time for conversation with me. But we tell ourselves, no, I'm just going to finish this little work, maybe cutting an onion, as basic as that. Let me just finish this because I've already started. And then I will stand for prayer. SubhanAllah, what have we given importance to? Right? It varies from situation to situation. It's not like, I'm not saying you're at work or you're driving and you cannot just stop and you can't do that. But when we are in a situation where we can pray, we can drop what we are doing and we can pray. But we say, okay, it's this time, it's just now, the azan has just happened now. I mean, just give me 2 minutes, I'm coming for prayer. I mean, what has become our ijl? Something for us to ponder upon. Yes. What would you like to say? This was ayah number 51. Yes, sisters, what would you like to share? How do we handle this ijl? Because anything that becomes an ijl is the means of doing zulm, right? And so we need to be careful about what we give importance. What we give importance to over our duty, our purpose of worship towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What do we give more importance than that? I haven't heard from some sisters, but I don't know which situation you all are in. Maybe you all are working, so I don't want to call out anybody's name. But if anybody would like to share something before we wind up for today, or anybody would like to just do a recap of the 3 ayahs that we did, maybe one point that you will take back to share with your family, something that you have learned today, which you would like to kind of, remember and apply in your life, anything at all, just 2 minutes. Yeah, I hope you all can hear me.
From
yes.
today's lesson was, no matter how much we are tested, having the tawakkul we feel stuck or we feel like there's no hope. But that's what Allah wants from us, to trust in Him blindly. Like He will provide for us. He will help us out.
Right. SubhanAllah. Even when you don't see the end, you still trust Him. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. This point can be further instilled by the story of Musa alayhi salam's mother, when she was told to put Musa alayhi salam in a basket and let him float away. And Allah promised her that He will bring her back, right? It's the Nile, right? It's the Nile. It's like one of the longest water bodies, right? Subhanallah. And she's putting an infant, like a day-old infant in that, right? In a water body, which is flowing, right? Subhanallah. And Allah tells her, put it, and I will bring him back to you. And she does it. She does not ask how. How is it even possible? There's no logic to this. I mean, I'm a mother, and how can I just? She doesn't ask any questions. She just puts the baby in the cradle, wraps him up, and floats him. And the baby comes back. Allah brings him back. He's taken up he reaches the palace of Pharaoh, and then he's taken up by his wife, and then she kind of chooses to keep him. And then he does not want to, there's so many women there, and but he refuses to suckle from anybody. And then his sister kind of guides them that, there's another person who can help you, and he is brought back to his mother. I mean, sometimes you wonder how. In that place with so many women, so many people, he's in the royal palace. But Allah promised. And He brought him back. That baby, it floats through the water, goes into a palace with so many people, everything, but then he comes back to his mother for his feed. This was tawakkul. Right? SubhanAllah. All right, sisters. I hope you enjoyed the session, and we will connect again, inshallah. Next Saturday, as we take this surah forward. Do let me know. We are going one ayah at a time. If you would like to, just take some important ayahs, though every ayah has so many beautiful lessons. But if you'd like to go in, take more like just gems of this, go over certain ayahs and not go over each ayah in sequence, you can let me know. And we could do that as well, but whatever, if what works for you all. But if this pace sounds okay, then we can continue with this, inshallah. There are lessons in it, and beautiful lessons in it. So we could, go whichever way you all feel would work better, more beneficial for you. The groups are open. You can give your feedback and your comments on this. Inshallah, we will connect again next Saturday, and at the same time, and do invite your friends so we can benefit from these lessons as a group. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Wa alaikum salam.
Walaikum salam.
Welcome, Salam.